Hey, welcome to Inspire Software Podcast. I don't know, we have an official name for it yet, but we'll going to be bringing you some different content pieces for you to consider for your organization, and looking into some of the things that Inspire does to help your organization excel in its business. I'm here today. I'm hosting today, Jason Diamond Arnold with Inspire Software, Director of Leadership Solutions. And I'm happy to host our CEO, Chris Wollerman, and welcome here today to talk about a very important topic on turning your strategy into action through OKRs using AI technology. And welcome, Chris. It's good to have you today.
Hey, Jason, good to be here.
So, Chris, we've had a chance. This is a series of articles that we've done that for people that want to look on our website at some of the thought leadership that we've gotten into over the years. What this is part of a series on helping executive leaders use AI to develop a strategy and then execute that strategy successfully in the organizations. And the first couple topics that we talked about were how AI can help you develop a strategy using AI tools that are out in the market, but also AI technology built into the Inspire software platform. And then once the strategy was developed, how do you visualize that strategy and communicate it to the organization using AI tools, both that are on the market and within the Inspire platform? And that kind of leads us to the subject today, which is how to help executive leaders use AI to turn strategy into action, specifically through OKRs, which is objectives and key results for those that aren't familiar with it. It's a goal setting methodology that many organizations have embraced, not only to set goals, but to help them link that to the strategy and execute their strategy more effectively. I think that's a good starting point, Chris. Is how did you get to OKRs as an engine to turn strategy into an execution engine?
So OKRs have been around quite a while in the technology arena. I think way back at Intel is if you probably the most famous book on OKRs is Measure What Matters by John Doerr, and he talks about his experience working at Intel back in the 70s and 80s, I believe, and probably goes back even further than that. So it's something that we've been familiar with and doing for quite some time as a software technology company. Started in the mid 2010s, and we had always been pretty good about doing SMART goals and measurable goals. And as it started to really expand beyond the technology industry, we just saw a great opportunity to get involved in it and strengthen our own goal setting and achieving execution framework. But I would say OKRs has been pretty well embraced by all industries, and we've got clients in manufacturing, healthcare, pharma, nonprofits, you name it. It's no longer just a technology world, and it's again easy to teach, and it's got a good method of making sure the criteria from the original SMART concept, which is specific, measurable, motivating, and some concepts of SMART, attainable, relevant, and trackable or time bound. OKRs really allow you to work in that world and make sure, especially the measurable, right? The objective is intended to be a qualitative description of what you're trying to do and why, and what business value you hope to achieve from it. And then the key results are more the quantifiable pieces that make sure you've got clear outcomes, as well as the ability to do things like lead measure metrics to help assure that maybe your outcome is going to take you to the end of the quarter to actually see it, but having some other key results set up as lead measures can help you really achieve things along the way and show progress and communicate what's going on.
Some people may see SMART goals or just traditional goal setting methodology as A versus OKRs. And really, what we have found is there's a lot of synergy between the two, and it's just sort of language and explaining how SMART goals fit the OKRs model, or OKRs, could fit into a SMART model in some ways. So, that kind of leads to the next question in terms of a lot of people that set goals for the organization, they have the strategy in place. Tell us a little bit more about the nuances of turning the strategy into OKRs. Like, how does that process take place? What's your experience been with? What are some of the challenges of turning a strategy into OKRs for the organization and getting that throughout the organization?
Yeah, it's a pretty natural flow, I think, because we've worked with some great consultants, like we're partnered with Paul Niven, who recommends this method of building a strategy map. And we talked about that in our last article. And when you're building a strategy map, it's really just at the objective level. So you're trying to get the what and why without getting too far deep into the metrics yet. And that helps your executive and senior team really get on the same page with what it is you're going to do, and what are you not going to do, what are you not going to have the bandwidth for. And it's a great starting point to then flow into the key results. And so we consider it at the corporate level. We call it corporate objectives and corporate key results, because then through the organization, you might have department level, team level, individual, and being able to align up and down the hierarchy. So starting with the corporate key result after defining the corporate objective allows you to have like a long term, a lot of times, and this is one thing Paul recommends, is thinking about the year ahead. Even though there are probably still some companies planning 3 years ahead, doing strategic planning, which is good, but really the long term in most OKR world terms is 1 year, and thinking about what by the end of this year, or by the end of our strategic year, what do we want to see as a main outcome? And then be able to break that into smaller chunks. Usually quarterly is what we see most often. Triannual, something with bigger companies. I had a larger company that quarterly was a little bit too quick, and so we spread it out over 4 months instead of 3 months. But those are really what we call the CKRs, or the corporate key results, that then your departments and teams can align to. And once you have that in place, then making it really clear for those departments and teams and individuals who should align to these corporate key results. Like finance, you're usually going to have business development, sales, finance people, and customer is going to be geared towards your client success and customer support. And so as you define those corporate key results, really helping identify who do we think in the organization should be aligning to this. And that helps.
In our consulting and coaching with organizations, we see like this is really kind of where the biggest challenge is. You can read all the data, and the gap between having a great strategy and executing it, it's kind of in this forest of things that you need to do to clarify it to the rest of the organization, and in a way that everybody can get aligned to it. What have you seen now? I know that you've jumped, head first into AI. How have you seen AI influence this really, challenging process that?
Well, the beauty of, I would say every model that I've worked with, and I've worked with quite extensively with OpenAI and ChatGPT. I've worked my probably most used one today, like many businesses, is Claude and Anthropic's models, Gemini and Google. They all have in their large language models a pretty good understanding of OKRs. So that's a good strength to build on, because when you start working with AI in those tools, you can count on the fact that you're going to have great collaborative session with the AI about some well-structured OKRs. It pretty much knows the rules, and even things like quality checking, which we're starting to add into our software. through some of these AI backends, it can really help with that. So you've got the ability to use AI to create, as we've talked about in the previous articles, like create a really strong OKR, help me align. So if I'm now in the company at the department, team, or individual level, you can use AI to say, hey, here's what our corporate objective and key results look like. And this is my role, or this is my team. Define that, and then help me align to it based on the roles and responsibilities that we have, and recommend and make sure it's collaborative, right? So you tell it to ask you questions as you're, don't just give it a prompt to say do this, but interact, and you'll see you can come up with some really robust alignment with AI. That's the start of your execution. Getting the goals good at every level, or the OKRs good at every level, is really the most important step. Once you've communicated the strategy and you've got it all structured at the corporate level, then assuring that you get that strong alignment and executable OKRs down at all levels.
What are some of the disruptions of using AI, or what are some of the blind spots that executive leaders should know about when they're using AI, particularly in relation to these objectives that they're putting in on their company?
Yeah, I think most of the clients that we have, and a lot of ones that we're seeing coming through the pipeline, they're thinking a lot about AI and coming up with a strategy, and really working on company policies. And there's a lot of best practices out there that the models, I'm sure, have, that you can build upon, to make sure you set policy in your organization about best usage, and cybersecurity, for example, being aware that if you allow your employees to use shadow AI, which is essentially people just getting whatever tools they want and doing their work with it, there's a lot of risks with that. And making sure you have a clear policy, like what's safe to use, and establishing that and rolling that out in the organization, and then being clear on what's not safe to use and what you shouldn't be doing, is a really important starting point, I think, for any company that that is going to roll out. And I would say most companies now, if you don't have the policy, you've got people that are taking risks, because essentially what you're doing when you're putting your strategic information on, whether it's goals, OKRs, or data, and you're putting those into those open tools, it's open for others to be able to mine. It's training the models. There's just a lot of risks out there, and there's a lot of good data on that you can get from either the AI or the internet, as far as understanding those risks. So that's the first thing. And then just having really good governance and training, having like an internal certification program, so people know best practices, they know how to use it ethically and safely. All of that really needs to be a part of a company's launch. And again, as we're working with our clients, we're seeing that.
What would you say in a simple way is the difference between using OpenAI to help create OKRs versus a platform like Inspire? Like what's different in the AI, that your clients are using, in Inspire? What's different about using AI in that context versus the open context?
Yeah, well, the first one, safety and security, right? So we talked a little bit about that. And you can do that, like being able to set up your own infrastructure with a safe, secure, large language model and an environment. But then there's a lot of prompting that we do that really puts in the context, like what is it we're trying to create, using all the OKR rules and best practices behind the scenes in the prompting. So instead of a user who's new to OKRs, or a company who's using OKRs in a platform like ChatGPT, they might just say, help me create an OKR that increases our revenue. And what would be in our prompt is probably 5 pages behind the scenes of all the rules and things that you would want to challenge that user with, to create the highest quality OKR possible. What you're going to get if you just put that simple one-liner in ChatGPT is most likely not a very good quality OKR. That's going to be vague and hard to execute, and it's not going to connect through your organization. And a lot of the things that really make your execution platform and process important is to be able to tie all those things together with good quality objectives throughout the company.
I would say another great advantage to Inspire, just as a champion of the platform and the tools, is that Inspire isn't just a software. You didn't just go, hey, we see a need in the market, we're gonna build something. Like, you have been very dedicated as a leader of Inspire to partner with other thought leaders that have time-tested, proven theories, whether it's from strategy to OKRs to behavioral science, leadership development. Tell us a little bit about why that's so important to not just build a software, but to build it intelligently, if you will, based on best practices that already exist even before AI came along.
Yeah, well, I think it's really you've got to have a human element at the start of it with good prompting when it comes to the usage of AI and all of the knowledge of your industry and best practices in business. So you really need a human element that's kind of asking and evaluating and discerning what you're getting back from the AI, because it could be garbage in, garbage out, and software is only the tool that supports the human and the human decisions. So getting partners and the beauty that we have now with what they call Model Context Protocol, MCP, it's like the USB-C plugin for AI for any data source. So now Inspire has a production level MCP server, which essentially allows you to be in a tool like Claude Cowork and connect everything in your organization together, and even use it like if I've got a financial software like QuickBooks and I want to create a OKR around improving my expenses, which is one of the things we're actually doing internally. We hook up our QuickBooks. We work with Claude to say, I want to create an OKR that it's going to help me save some expenses. And then with connecting into Inspire, it helps you create the OKR, but then it helps you keep track of it along the way as well. So you can use that third party, whether it's Claude or whether it's Gemini or any of the others that talk to MCP, which is essentially everybody. You can read and write back to Inspire along with your other tools. QuickBooks is another one that you want some great BI, business intelligence graphs and things. We've got some stock ones inside of Inspire for the most common types of reports and views that people want. But everybody's got unique ideas and things now in your business that you can use. Insert your BI tool, maybe it's Tableau or Power BI, and pull that in with Inspire and pull that in with your QuickBooks. And now you've got this orchestration that you can really do some pretty amazing things. So that's what some of the things that we're really starting to expedite and help our clients with is just getting that integration and orchestration rolling.
I want to bring it back to strategy execution and helping executives do that using AI, but bring it back a little bit more to the theory of when we coach clients, a lot of organizations want to take these corporate goals or OKRs and then cascade them down through the organization, send them down and say, okay, we got the goals, and then give these goals to other departments and teams. And it's not necessarily wrong, but we use a term called connect the departments, connect the teams to the corporate OKRs. Tell us a little bit about the difference between connecting to a corporate level OKR versus having a corporate OKR cascaded to you. What are some of the pros and cons of that?
Yeah, and we do both, and we also recommend both depending on the situation. So cascading is a concept where you've defined the corporate key result, and you want to a team or a person that you have in mind that you just want to say you're responsible to execute this as it's written. And so we have functions in Inspire that allows you to say, take this corporate key result and essentially create an OKR for somebody at a team. And now that team member has inherited that, and they're able to work with it without doing anything else other than just start executing. The disadvantage of that is when you hand down goals, then the people that are executing don't always get the input, the creativity, sometimes the buy-in. If it's just a hand-me-down goal, it can be done in a way that employees feel like they're just getting, tasking essentially, versus if you allow the creativity. So the connect concept is communicate the corporate key result, give a workshop to your teams and individuals on the expectations and what you really want to see as the outcome, but then let them collaborate at the team level or the department level to decide what's the best approach that they think they can use, and make it more of a collaborative effort between the different levels in the organization. And that you're going to get more buy-in because they helped create it, and you're going to get better employee satisfaction because they can start to see the meaning in what they're doing a little bit better than just getting that hand-me-down cascade goal.
It's very interesting because there's this paradox between people. I hear that you're talking people, and most good solid executive leaders understand it's their people that are executing the strategy. And yet the research in the market, and even in our own research, we have a strategy readiness assessment on our website where we gather data and we do research on companies. And the big gap is between setting that strategy and then having the people execute it. So a lot of great thoughts. I'm going to ask this concluding question, Chris, just for people that are interested. If an executive leader, let's say an executive leader comes to you and they have 90 days to implement an AI-supported OKR system within their organization, what's the minimal viable version of what they need to do to be ready to put that in within 90 days?
Yeah, we'll have a good strategy to start with, and using AI tools, and look at our previous articles on that to come up with a good, strong strategy, and a system in place that you can put those in and be able to teach your people how they can then understand it, align to it, and execute it. And 90 days is a pretty good amount of time to be able to do that. Pretty easy in my perspective. And when we take clients through this with Inspire, we talk about crawl, walk, run, and crawl is usually that first quarter, first 90 days of just get your objectives into the system, which is really all we've talked about today.
Well, great. Thanks, Chris, for your time today. There was a lot to think about, a lot of great insights in different areas. And we just invite those that are listening, if they got any value out of this, to like and subscribe to this podcast. We're going to be having more thought leadership articles and podcasts that deal with this on a very practical level. If people want to reach out to us at inspiresoftware.com, please feel free to reach out and ask Chris any questions, or ask any of us at Inspire some questions that we might be able to address either in a podcast or give you a call personally and touch base with you. So Chris, thank you so much for your time and your insights and all the great work that you're doing with Inspire and the Inspire team. Thanks for giving us your insights today.